Hello virtual pilots! We are close to the final chapter of 2020. Last week we got the final Q&A series for Microsoft Flight Simulator with head of Microsoft Flight Sim, Jörg Newman, and from Asobo we have CEO and co-founder Sebastian and executive producer Marcial. Hope everyone is doing well. If you are ready for the latest news for Microsoft Flight Simulator, sit back and enjoy on-the-spot news here at Hip Games. So in the interview that happened last week, they started with a feedback snapshot and an explanation for sim updates. As the updates are focused on the sim itself, they explain how they take decisions by checking the feedback snapshot and see what they want to do and what they need to do and so on. What is important to note, during the launch and the months that followed, they had a bi-weekly update, mostly caused by issues that appeared along the way. But now, as things got more stabilized, they need to slow it down to make sure that the updates are solid and well tested, and also to give the third-party developers time to get the update for a few weeks prior to the release, making sure that nothing breaks when in our hands. This is called the preview system, and they are trying to get it online by January 2021. We know this is happening, as for example with the fly-by-wire mode. Every update the team needs to post that fixes are on their way as fast as possible, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, depending on what broke. So they will introduce the beta version before releasing any patch, with this feature being planned for Q2 2021. And all of this triggered the decision to go for a monthly update, which is quite normal, next update being the Sim Update 2. So the plan is to have every 2 to 3 months a Sim update and every 2 to 3 months a World update. And they also mentioned that there are bigger things coming that they cannot talk right now, hinting at surprises along the way. A sneaky question about helicopters, as everybody knows they are planned for 2022, but the question that popped was, does that mean that you will start on helicopters in 2022, or you will be working on it sooner than that? So Sebastian intervened and confirmed that the dates are set for the release. But helicopters will definitely take a long time, thus the very long time frame. Next talk was about the recent US update, showing off the map and the terrain data that was updated together with the heat map. They picked up some areas that they thought interesting for this patch, but they won't stop here, and there's going to be more US updates like US Update 2 and US Update 3. It's going to take some time, as let's not forget, it's a lot of area to cover. As for Alaska and Hawaii, they are working on a new process with a new technique that is not ready yet, but they think they will get more of the verticality of the heat map. Right now it's a bit too rounded and missing its sharpness along the cliffs, so that will have to wait a bit until they implement the new process. Moving on with the water masks, they are getting updated all the time. We do get to see a difference between the preview videos and the current state of the sim. Sebastian said that we will get them in a data patch, not a major sim patch these days, if it didn't happen already by now. Also, it doesn't mean that all the water data on the planet will be updated, but they are on a long list, and usually what you see in a preview video is what will be inserted in the sim later on, anywhere between a few weeks or a month, as the video team is using the dev version. Next up, about the flight log, the problem with not getting your flight registered has been fixed. For those of you still experiencing this issue, Marcial mentioned that you should make sure you are not using the developer mode as you fly, as this feature is deactivated in the flight log. Obvious reasons, as you are in dev mode and you're not considered as simming anymore. Now about CPU optimization. And whenever there is talk of optimization, we need to understand that this is an ongoing thing that will enable taking advantage more of the sim, getting more options, and most important, optimization will enable them to implement more stuff. And for that, they need CPU optimization. More precise, unlocking your CPU to take more advantage of your multi-cores, allowing the main thread to move on while the other cores are finishing their work instead of everybody waiting. This is a stall fix. As a result, you can get more frame rates, but also a higher CPU load because the CPU will work more efficiently. For those of you who have systems where the CPU is the problem, for those with lower GPU, well, it's not going to change anything. If you know this is your issue, you can tweak your render scale and so on. But as a result of this CPU optimization, you should get a boost in FPS, about 10 FPS to be precise. Next thing they will focus on is regarding GPU optimization, improving the cost of trees and a big work on memory. Now for the elephant in the room, about Sim Update 2, VR comes for everybody in the 23rd of December. They will open VR for everyone with support for all devices. We are very eager to test it with our Samsung Odyssey here at Hip Games. The update will also feature improvements to the airliner's experience, also adding 2 new tutorials for the Airbus 320. And now, about the Autopilot. Well, I will roll Sebastian's explanation on what changes they made. Roll it.
Yeah, sure. So on yesterday's update, there has been 2 big changes. It's basically a change. All planes, so all 30s have had this change. So you can still stall, but it's been optimized that you can't pull more Gs than you're supposed to. And so basically you get maybe 20% more precision. Mm-hmm. And on the autopilot, we completely changed basically the system that solves the equation of, okay, how much do I need to put, how much yoke do I need to put in order to achieve my autopilot goals? So the autopilot goals, like how fast do you roll, how fast do you turn, should all be improved. The way the plane follows the track should be improved. And the transition of, okay, what do I need to do? I need to roll right, change my heading, transform to the, what do you actually do on the yoke has been improved so that to get rid of oscillations, overshooting, it's a lot more precise. So I mean, something which was very hard to get is like take an overpowered plane, do a very takeoff and really and like, I don't know, ask the heading to go 980 degrees, super fast climb and everything at the same time and just turn on the AP. Now it's smooth and it works. And in previous iteration, if you do something crazy like this, usually the autopilot would kill you, right? So that's something sometimes people would see as like the autopilot tried to kill me. This should be gone.
So we'll get a big improvement to the autopilot with small changes still needed, as for example the ILS not being captured precisely, which they will change as they test it more and more with different airplanes. World Update 3 is scheduled for the end of January and will feature the United Kingdom with England, Wales and Scotland. They are still trying to get data on Ireland, nothing yet to promise if it will be included in the World Update, but we will see. The update will come with new airports, new points of interest and new challenges. Also, they are trying to add more churches and cathedrals. Also in Sim Update 3, they will focus on approaches, ATC, communication with ATC, improving the phraseology. They mention about the ATIS information not being precise at the moment, that is planned to get fixed as well. As for nav data, it will be always updated separately with a small update every time. Then a bit of information about the NavBlue chart service. Planned a bit later for Sim Update 4, they have an issue with it, as they do have the charts, but they don't have the data that is getting displayed on the charts, and it's like this, they're getting discrepancies. They want to give us the ability to change the additions of data we use. And when they will get the data, everything should get fixed, but that's not the case yet. Then a question popped up about the live traffic data. And why is there a lack of it right now? A comparison was posted between FlightAware and Flight Simulator at the same location, and they are wondering why there is less traffic in the sim. So they know about the reason and it's getting investigated and trying to find a solution for it. Now what happens is that the data they get is filtered if there is, for example, bad altitude, like the airplane showing at 0 altitude, it will be filtered out. The same will happen to the flights that have no destination. Also many times they are getting data that comes with gaps of information, and what happens, the planes are teleporting somewhere else, so they will need an AI to fix this, to take over the situation. Something to augment the missing data, correct the altitude and so on. So this is the reason why you are experiencing missing flights. Now about the rolling cache, we get an explanation on how it works, if you should have it on or off. Most of the data that comes from the internet, which is streamed in real time as you fly, is HTTP request. You are flying somewhere and the sim is requesting a file for that region. The rolling cache takes as much space as you allow it, and it stores the regions you have requested, so next time you fly, the sim searches for the data stored in the cache and then the internet if it's not found in your drive. So even with a very fast internet speed, it's much more efficient to have the rolling cache on, as the information is more faster to be accessed from the open drive than from the internet. So it's recommended to always have the cache on. An area in the game is not that big. If you set it between 32 GB and 50, you should be fine if you fly in a certain region. And when you start exploring, you will start to render from the internet no matter what. Then they got some questioning about the flickering in the flight deck. This I experienced too. Thoughts about what it can be? They say it's the shadow map. They need to figure out if it's a plane specific. I got it in the A320NX, but as being a third-party mod, I cannot say much. But they say they will look into it. They also mentioned the replay system. They are working on it. It's very raw at the moment. They need to polish it and build a UI for it. And it will come in one of the next updates. It's not committed yet. Somewhere in 2021. Then this was interesting because I just did a tutorial on it. multi-monitors. According to Martial, the engineers working on the rendering system are working on something else right now. Okay. And this is something they will bring just after what? This I didn't get. They won't commit to dates. Okay. They know it's important and want to put it very soon. So 2022. But trying to make it as fast as possible. So let's give them that. And in the end, we got check out the time before Christmas, as some nice surprises are coming out our way. Hint, hint. Woo! Wonder what that could be. And that's it for the last Q&A for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I love the transparency. Looking forward for the VR update on the 23rd of December. I still didn't choose the place where I will fly once it's out, but we will see. I wish you all a wonderful time together with your loved ones. We will continue to cover all the latest news from your favorite simulators and games here at Hip Games. A big thanks to my recent subscribers. It means a lot to me to see the channel grow like this. This will be my first Christmas without performing live on stage, but I am happy to be here together with you. Happy thoughts, and remember to fly safe, and I'll see you next time.